purpose of this hearing is to explore the developments following the historic signing of the Washington Accords between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. My engagement in supporting peace between Rwanda and DRC spans more than 3 decades, from a focus on the immediate aftermath of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. We even had hearings here with people because, unfortunately, the international community utterly failed, especially Kofi Annan, who was the head of security. He got the General Dallaire memo about what was about to happen in Rwanda, and nothing was done, and we had people testify on that. So it's been a long-standing concern. It's been bipartisan, so I'm happy that we're having this hearing today. We are working, of course, on trying to see faithful implementation of the Washington Accords for peace and prosperity. This skillfully and brilliantly brokered peace deal signified a new era in the region, one where peace through strength is brought to bear to end the lengthy, bloody, and costly conflict. Bringing both parties to negotiate at the same table was historic in and of itself. The first time in modern history where such progress has been made on this conflict. The deals agreed to will secure extraordinary benefits, if faithfully implemented, for the DRC, for Rwanda, and for the United States. Ensuring that all sides follow through on the commitments made at the signing in December is not only in the U.S. national interest, but most importantly, really, for the millions of people who suffer in the war, for future generations of Congolese and Rwandan children, and for the memory of the 6 million dead from this decades-long conflict, a human toll that is both staggering and intolerable. Over the course of the last several years, I've chaired 11 hearings that have focused exclusively on the political crisis and violence in the DRC and Rwanda. Regrettably, each hearing has revealed that the international community and the U.S. response has been half-hearted and perhaps even indifferent, especially in the face of such violence, tragedy, and suffering. Today, things are changing, and under President Trump and his cabinet's leadership in the response is strong, sustained, and I believe it will be durable. I believe that the signing of the Washington Accords in such a public way, just down a few blocks, and I was there for that, along with Chairman Mast and others, it brings gravity to the commitments of the leaders of the DRC and Rwanda. And this hearing today is a message about the seriousness, this committee, this full committee, of course, there's great care there, and of course, and the full Congress, House and Senate, to those commitments. We're committed. We want faithful implementation. It's an appeal to both sides. Please, faithfully implement this deal. In December of last year, I said I look forward to working on and watching the peace process unfold and ensure that the leaders of the DRC and Rwanda are honoring the terms of the agreement. That is why we've called this hearing today, because there continue to be spoilers to the peace process, belligerents who act to undermine and embarrass the United States, and I would say, even more importantly, themselves. You know, if you sign, you say, this is I put my honor and my full faith towards this agreement, you gotta follow through. The benefits of the Washington Accords, as I said before, are just extraordinary, and everyone wins when this is implemented faithfully. The incentives are spelled out clearly in the Regional Economic Integration Framework, mandated that the DRC and Rwanda develop a structured roadmap for economic integration, covering mineral supply chains, infrastructure, energy, tourism, and other sectors, to underpin peace with shared prosperity and to attract investment. Whereas the Strategic Partnership Agreement between the U.S. and each of the African governments, DRC and separately Rwanda, builds on the Regional Economic Integration Framework into a wider trilateral framework that links economic reforms, critical minerals governance, and security cooperation to the U.S. strategic interests and investment commitments. This includes addressing child and forced labor issues in the mining industry through the full supply chain transparency, quote unquote, due to the diligence, traceability, and adherence to internationally recognized standards to ensure responsible mining and sourcing, close quote. Very critical is that the Washington Accords include a 4-phase concept of operations that both parties agreed to, and that is essential for Rwanda agreeing to pull its troops back but only if the DRC follows a synchronized schedule to eliminate the FDLR militia. At a hearing of this subcommittee on May 5th of 1998, I noted that, quote, the RPF-led Rwandan government has used the guilt of the international community as a shield to prevent criticism of its actions in the DRC, and that the sheltering of the Hutu participants in the genocide has led to continuing problems in that country. Decades later, the root causes of the conflict continued to boil over. The presence of the FDLR and its genocidal ideology rightfully continues to be the government of Rwanda's primary national security concern in eastern Congo. But today, we have good reason to believe that known areas of the FDLR combatants are under M23 and Rwandan control. And I would expect to hear the developments that describe the measures being taken by M23 in Rwanda to demobilize these actors. It is insufficient to say that M23 is an independent group or not party to the Washington Accords when there is a clear pattern of coordination by Kigali and the group. The Congolese army, too, has issues with the FDLR, including there's no clear-cut policy that relocates and disarms individuals who should be viewed as a threat to the Congolese commitments. In 2008, I visited Goma. Then the peacekeepers, unfortunately, were engaging in despicable behavior of raping little children. Ambassador Swing was in charge of that deployment. I held 4 hearings on it. We thought we got an agreement, a blue helmet policy that said zero tolerance. It was very, very slow in the implementation. And when the peacekeepers don't protect, who's left? And I was very, very upset with that, as were so many others on both sides of the aisle. The leaders, so Senator Rubio has been very specific, and I am grateful for this, about Hong Kong and mainland China's based companies accused of financing armed groups, including M23. These sanctions that have been imposed by the Trump administration include Congo Dongyang Mining Corporation, which is a facilitator accused of sourcing minerals from conflict zones and moving them through Rwandan supply chains to Chinese refineries. In 2023, I chaired a hearing and said, from cobalt to cars, the entire supply chain is built on violence. And we heard from several people who talked about how children were dying, who are working in artisanal mines, and others. They were forced. Chinese government I have a bill in that would try to stop it. It has not passed. Part of it passed on the, over on the, what do you call it, the Ways and Means Committee, but it still has not proceeded. Hopefully what's happening now eclipses any need for anything like that, because this agreement is so comprehensive. We must break our dependence on minerals from that finance the Chinese Communist Party, as I said back in 2023, and that fuels the stability proffered by the CCP. The Washington Accords are more than minerals. It's a culminating event designed to end the suffering in the war. And I asked in December of 2012, can the inter-ethnic problems in the DRC and its neighbors finally be resolved so that a lasting peace can be achieved? Let me just point out, too, during the worst days, and it's back again, of the Darfur genocide, many people said, why isn't there any attention being brought to the killing fields in DR Congo? We had Matt Affleck come in and testify, and so many others. Tony Hall, whose staff is here, he'll be testifying at our follow-up hearing to today. So many people spoke out and said, what about the DR Congo? And what about Rwanda? So the Accords, I think, answers that question very robustly. And again, Sarah, thank you for being here, and I'll introduce you formally in a moment. But I'd like to yield to Sarah Jacobs, our distinguished ranking member.